Hi everyone, today's April 21st, 2018, and this is a Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger.
And I'm Deck Tech.
And the Kaiba Cup has ended. We are in this phase where we're waiting for new content. There is new stuff coming next week, but we're getting a third recurrence of Marik invading Duel World. It's a time for anyone to get Marik or Arcana, I believe, as well, if you don't have those characters. But we're just, existing in Duel World right now, doing what we can. So, how are you doing?
Yeah, just existing. So since last time we were here, we completed stage 2 of the KC Cup, and I did quite poorly in that. I varied early on 2 of my games. Like one of them, I opened it up and it just instantly said I conceded and counted it as a loss. And another one, an opponent conceded when I had lethal. Like I was about to attack with the game after I had set something up, and he conceded at that point, and then it counted. It didn't count. I forget.
Tie rate.
Yeah, it counted as a tie. It listed it as a tie. I don't remember if it changed my my score at all. But I was already instantly tilted because 2 out of my first 5 games went down like that, and so I didn't play super well, as we talked about. Well, and we're going to talk about, my deck was the Sea Stealth attack, and it just wasn't super popular, and I assume that was because it wasn't super well situated for the meta. So between that early start not going well, and then me struggling either because of the tilt or because of just not having the best deck, or just, maybe I couldn't cut it, whatever, I couldn't really get a win streak going. And so I ended up just going 50-50 the whole time, and eventually I just gave up, and I finished at literally 0 DP. So, not exactly my most impressive finish, but ended up getting my goal of the SR ticket anyway, so I guess it didn't really matter.
Nice. I mean,
yeah.
Not nice, but it sucks that the cheating happened and you can't report them this time.
Yeah. I tweeted to Konami, so that's my report.
But they don't know we exist, so it's fine.
Yeah. How about you? How'd it go? Yours went a little better, right?
A little better, yes. If you remember last week, I had 0 from playing. That's because I sucked. And I wasn't a victim of cheating at all this time, I think. I don't know if I was, but nothing egregious happened like yours. But I ended it on a win streak of 9 games.
Nice.
Yeah, so basically I was at 0. I was close to 0. And once I got over 10,000 and I knew I would be within 10,000 global, I just kind of cut it. And if I played 8 more games, if I won 8 more games, I would have placed into the qualifiers. But I didn't know about the top 600 thing. I don't know why I didn't know. Maybe I just didn't know what it meant, or I don't like reading, or a combination of both. I didn't play them, and it was worse than last time, though. Last time I had 15,000. I think I only had to win 2 or 3 games, but this time 8 more. I don't know if I would have done it, but I had a 54% win rate, I believe. That was my end rank with yugiohs, which is a meta deck, so that's a little different. Then I didn't really do anything for most of the week until yesterday, and I got to Legend 1 somewhere, I don't know where, but I got to Legend 2 yesterday. I felt like I wasn't getting the rank up when I should have. I feel like they changed the rank up system. You have to win one more game, I feel like. I was expecting the thing to pop up, but it didn't happen a few times. So it was 6 out of 7 now, I think. I don't know if this is confirmed or not, or my win history is messed up, but I did get that 6 out of 7 yesterday to get to Legend 2. Same deck to counter effect monsters. Yugioh deck to counter effect monsters. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, that's interesting. And that means that you're doing quite well. I haven't played very much PvP outside of the KC Cup.
Yeah.
So I think I'm at like plat 3 or something. Um, I only have 60 total wins though from all the PvP this month. So
Yeah, I'm not doing
uh,
especially well. Well, I was losing most of the week. I crossed 160, so
160.
yeah, I got the
Woo!
gem reward for 160. So that's why I wasn't doing super well until yesterday, until I got to this Legend 2 thing. Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah,
get a streak going, I won 4 out of 5, and I was expecting to move up, and then I lost. Things like that happened. I don't know.
yeah, that sucks.
Yep,
All right, well, you want to head into the news, I guess?
yep. So these are confirmed things. We're going to talk about things that are not confirmed for most of this episode, but these are things that actually happened. The Meta Weekly 16, it happened on the 18th. Duel Links Meta, of course. And this was one of the ones I just opened up this page this morning, and I saw that every deck was Masked Heroes Restart. I was like, oh man, that must have been a crazy final, telling the decks apart.
Yeah, I would be interested to see like the stats on the rest of the tournament because even in the KC Cup, it wasn't 100% masked heroes, but not even all the best players all agreed to play masked heroes. So I think the fact that the KC Cup went the way that it did, and that we're going to talk about in a sec, has kind of caused this. But if this is indicative of how it's going to go going forward until we get more new good cards, then this is a bigger problem than the Red Eyes, the Cyber Angels. I don't think I've ever seen a meta where everyone is running the same deck. And obviously one tournament when we're only seeing the top 4 isn't the time to start freaking out about a broken meta. But it is pretty interesting to see every single person running the same deck.
Yeah, everyone was running the same deck here, and all of the decks in general are one-turn kill decks, mostly. So it's kind of the issue that we'll talk about, I guess. But first place, Thurbin, Masked Heroes deck. Just to tell you what this deck is 2 Malicious, 2 Deciders, 3 Celestials, 3 Vions, 3 Mass Change, 1 Trunade, 2 Forbidden Chalice, 1 Destiny Draw, 2 Econ, and 1 Polymerization. You got your 3 Ankies and then 2 other Fusion Destiny Hero guys. And the sideboard actually has that Wacky Alchemy, which we were talking about when it activates. I guess it does counter Mask Change.
Yeah, it looks like it does. That's got to be the reason, right?
Yeah.
The wording of the 2 cards is a little bit weird, as Yu-Gi-Oh wording tends to be. But Mask Change seems to want the monster to stay until after it resolves, and then that Wacky Alchemy says when a face-up spell card in your opponent's spell and trap zone is sent to the graveyard, then you can destroy a monster. So it is truly a weird little interaction, but we're thinking that kind of has to be the reason why it's in there, we think. And I'm sure some rule shark will help us correct that if that's not true.
Yep. Second place, Mr. Cellophane Man. It was a close. It's almost exactly the same as the first place deck, but instead of Hey Trunade, there is a Destiny Hero Dreamer, which is basically a protection card. And the sideboard has specific hate cards in Exile of the Wicked. That's to counter Archfiends, which are a pretty good deck, and Acid Rain for machines and yugiohs.
Mm-hmm. It also runs 2 Cosmic Cyclone, I guess just in case Sea Stealth comes back, and just as a general utility card instead of the 2 Hey Trunades that the first place has between the main deck one and the sideboard one. So
Third place, Sun Luke. This one's a little different because they don't have Malicious, and they have Drill Dark,
and
yeah. Dreamer in place of it. Not much to say about it. They do run a lot of useful cards in the sideboard, which include Lava Golem, 4-star Ladybug, 7 Tools of the Bandit, and 2 Anti-Magic Prisms.
Yes, which has the same idea. This one would definitely work in the way that we're thinking Wacky Magic does. It reads, activate only when your opponent activates a quick play spell card, select one card in the field, and destroy it. So definitely the same idea. And then as it happens when activation, we can pretty definitively say that that one works in the way that we think it does.
Yep.
And but this list is interesting because it looks like more like specific tech cards. It has one Cosmic Cyclone main deck, one Hey Trunade, and then all those sideboard cards you mentioned.
Yeah. And the no malicious thing is interesting too, for sure. We heard Andy Tsang talk about Drill Dark. He doesn't like that card, but I guess it worked for Son Luke. Likes Drill Dark.
Yeah.
And another third place player, Marik. This is a 21 card version. I guess he's the only person who has 3 econs in the deck. Yeah, he wanted to have 3 econs. Otherwise, it would have been a 20 card deck because everyone else ran 2, I believe. Yeah, everyone ran 2.
Yeah, for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's about the only difference there. Everyone has a slightly different sideboard, I guess. He has 2 Tribute to the Doom, 2 Hate Trunade, and 1 Mirror Wall as his sideboard. So it looks like the main deck is like about 19 cards, 18, 19 cards are pretty much decided on. And then there's just like 1 or 2 cards to mess around with. And then everyone has the exact same extra deck. And then people kind of, I guess, have their own preferences in the sideboard. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more diversity going forward.
Yeah, it's very fun to talk about decks that are all the same.
Makes it easier, though.
Yeah, that's true. DLPT, Duel Links Pro Tournament 16 is happening next week. Sign-ups are open in this link here. All right.
Yep, we got the link if you want to join up. I think we won't be able to talk about it next week because it's going to happen while we're recording. So we'll talk about it in 2 weeks, but we won't be able to tell you about it in time next week. So you're going to have to sign up now if you want in.
Yeah, some new cards might be released by that time. We don't know. There could be a new box. We don't know. So it might be a different meta. All right. Kaiba Cup ended, and the top 100 players were reported on Duel Links Meta's website. And Restart Masked Heroes led the way with 12. 12 players used it. And that's kind of why, we just talked about 4 decks. And I guess it came out on top because it plays faster in this one-turn kill meta. You could use the quick play multiple times in a turn. So that's why it was first.
Yeah, I think it has... So another thing that we have here is Andy Tsang ended up getting first place NA, which was 6th place globally, and he did a little interview, which was pretty interesting. And we're going to go over a little bit, and then we have a URL here. But one of the things he said is that he chose Masked Heroes because it was very flexible. So it had both that one turn kill potential, but also you could play it a little bit differently depending on your draw and depending on what your opponent is likely playing. So it was able to counter the other decks' one-turn kill potentials with its various protections and just cards it runs naturally and the econs that everyone was running in the deck. So it had the one-turn kill, I guess, probably with a little bit more flexibility than do the other ones, because if you look at the other one-turn kills, Cyber Angels and Sylvans, they're both very tight lists and have to operate in a very specific way, whereas Masked Heroes have a little bit more of that flexibility.
Yeah, sometimes when you're a trading card game player, you're not running blind like we are. You kind of know the bigger picture. And that's kind of one of the things about Masked Heroes. They kind of knew about that flexibility, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Grit became a skill. I don't know if we saw it too much in our games. I did see it now and then, but it's possible those players kind of moved up. But Grit Sylvans became 11 players out of the top 100 played Grit Sylvans. And most of the Sylvan's decks I saw were still using Restart in the end, but they were mixing in skills like Tie That Binds, for example, and Grit counters one-turn kill decks. That's why it showed up.
Yeah, I faced a little bit of Grit decks, and again, Andy kind of talked on this in his interview, and he said the top player council kind of noticed that Grit was triggering more often against the OTKs and in the OTK meta than it had in the past. And so it became a better skill because the way they think it works, we don't have the formula or enough stats to really nail it down, but it seems like it works a lot more frequently if you're at a higher life total. So in a meta in which you get OTK'd, it's far more frequently going to activate than in a meta where people are just kind of chipping away at your life and attacking it with smaller normal sized monsters.
Yep. And the same was said for Grit Cyber Angels. That's the third highest in the top 100. And Cyber Angels just came back to fight Sylvans, I think. And if you go on Reddit, people are liking Cyber Angels for the first time because they're not as bad as Sylvans, so that's why they're back, sort of.
Yeah, that's right. One other thing to mention here is that the three most popular decks in representation in the top are 12%, 11%, and 7% of the meta, and those are all very low numbers. So that kind of reflects what we noticed, that the meta was very mixed, and it also, obviously this is specific to skill and archetype. So maybe if you group all of the Cyber Angels or more likely all of the Sylvans, you'll probably get a much bigger percentage. But even still, this is a very different picture than what we just saw with the Duel Links meta where it was 100% masked heroes, of course. Here, it's the very highest percentage is only 12% of the meta. So that actually looks like a pretty either healthy or just unsolved meta, and that is that's an interesting situation to be in, to see such a big difference 1 week after the other, and to have been competing in a high level event when it was so wide open like that.
Yeah, it makes you think whether things would get nerfed, and this would be a case for it not to get nerfed. But I mean, they're probably going to pull numbers from everyone instead of the top 100, and they're going to look at, usage rates for everyone. And I personally noticed Sylvan's probably 30%, somewhere close there. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But the top 100 was fairly balanced from what we could tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. What did Andy Tsang say in his interview?
Andy Tsang, they talked about his background a little bit just to give you an introduction. He is a TCG player and the physical TCG and a Duel Links player. And he, in that regard, was actually pretty new, to the physical TCG as well, which surprised the interviewer and myself. He said he's only really been playing it for a couple years, and he had multiple top finishes in 2017, including, I believe, the World Champs. I think he's a former world champion. And then they talked about this KC Cup a little bit. He mentioned why he liked playing Masked Heroes. He played pretty much that same deck the whole time. And like we talked about before, it was the most well-rounded and flexible of the top decks. And he said that when he got up there, it seemed like it was only him, two other of the top NA players, and maybe a couple like European players who saw them running it, who were running Masked Heroes. And so it was one of those trickle-down things, just like in that first KC Cup, in which nobody at all was running handless, and then DK came out and blew open the meta with it, and then all of a sudden it was kind of like the deck to beat. Seems like we're having a similar situation here. And he talked a little bit about the Grit situation that we mentioned before, how he's on the top player council, so he wasn't surprised by it because he was part of the group that kind of discovered it and proliferated it, I guess. And playing around it, he was talking about how he would save an econ because he knows that it's very likely to trigger. So even if he's going for the kill this turn, it won't actually kill his opponent. So he has to save something for the swing back and all of that. And finally, they just kind of discussed the KC Cup metagame as a whole, various matchups that felt strong or weak for masked heroes, how to play in those matchups. So definitely want to check it out if you just want to hear from a top-level mind. It's interesting to always hear how the top players are thinking, not just about this turn, but about like their opponent's entire deck and what could possibly happen next turn and the turn after that. But also, just if you want to learn a little bit more about either how to play masked heroes, which may well be the best deck right now, or how to play against it when it is a top meta deck that is likely to just continue to grow in popularity as it gets a little bit more and more press and hype. So it's definitely a good one. We've got the URL there to the YouTube video. It shows his deck list that he ended up running in the end, and then it's kind of just audio talking over the top of that. But it's a good listen if you are interested in any of that.
Cool. In our game itself, the duel rooms were renovated and updated. It is what people use for tournaments nowadays, so we are using this thing and it's getting improved. There are more tables and the rooms have been increased. 10 to 30 players. There can now be 30 players in a room and 15 tables. So 5. So the rooms tripled in size, basically.
Yes, it's amazing what you can do when the rooms are not physical. And you could just make them any size you want. I still think that the duel rooms are like a really poor tool for people to use, but the community is very devoted to it, and they figured out a way to make it work with running tournaments. And it's kind of a testament to how much people want and are working towards having competitive Duel Links. Like we've talked about before, it seems like the competitive Duel Links community kind of just is very grassroots, and this is a very minimal way that Konami could help them, but I'm glad that they're doing it because, it's nice to help that grow.
Yep. There are various quality of life changes coming in version 2.6, which you can do on the phone. The PC version the Steam version, is going to take a little longer, but shortened visual effects during duels. So I guess those are those 3D animations that come up. I guess shuffle animations and visual effects too.
Yeah, most of them, it listed I think around 8 things that are being changed, and most of them are when you're auto dueling, which makes a lot of sense to me because usually I'm auto dueling specifically because I don't care about the outcome, right? You're doing something else, you're at work or watching TV or whatever, and you're just like grinding at your duelist to, for whatever reason. And so it makes sense to make those kind of as short as possible. Some people were asking for just a auto duel all feature to just tell you won 7 out of the 10 or whatever it is. But I think this is a better, more fair way to do it because
it's kind of like mining the game if you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I like this. It's like a nice little kind of middle ground.
Yesterday I was watching a duel replay where there was a Joey deck who used that trick with the where he discarded their whole hand. They blew up the board and then they used Beacon of White. I talked about getting beat by that a while ago, but it was so nice. He did the Destiny draw, not the Destiny draw, Last Gamble, and he had one of those Joey phrases like "time to get my motor running," and then he just does this one turn kill. That would have been nice. That was when one of those quotes fit the spot exactly.
Yeah, the role play was strong.
Yeah, he rolled a 6-2 on the last gamble. That was the best part. And
what a cheater face.
Anyways, doppelgangers are now allowed. Characters will appear in Duel World and will be able to duel at the gate, even if you're playing as the character. This is relevant right now because I played Marik for most of the month. With my yugioh deck, and he wasn't showing up, or I can't duel him for the event right now. But I haven't updated my phone either, so I still can't play Marik as Marik, but I guess you can do that now.
Yeah, whenever we get a new character, you obviously want to level up that character, but it also often comes just like Jesse did at the same time as the characters like doing some event where they show up in the world, or you have to duel them at the gate or whatever. And so it's both annoying, and if you forget to switch off the character, then you're hurting your chances to farm their stuff. So I think this is a really good change. Obviously the reason why they weren't doing it before is because it was like, well, why are there two of him in the world? But it's a digital world anyway, so I don't think it matters in terms of that suspension of belief or whatever. I think it's much better to make this change and to cede a little bit of that, realism in quotes to just the much better UI.
More card filters. You can now filter by popular cards in the deck editor.
Yep, this is an interesting change, I guess. They're changing it. You were already able to mark in a very recent change itself, but you were able to mark your favorite cards, which I love that feature, and then you can filter by those, and that's a great way to find the best cards that you like to put into a lot of your decks, or maybe not the best cards, but like all your farming cards or something like that. This will be another way to help you do that. It also kind of acts as a tip, I guess, if you're not an experienced deck builder or aren't like looking at, aren't net decking, then this is another way, just like the whatever it's called in game where it shows you popular decks and strong decks. This is kind of another little bridge towards the more competitive side of the game. So I like it for all levels of play. It makes it more convenient for experienced players to find stuff in their collection, and it helps out newer players figure out maybe what they should be taking another look at. Like, why is this popular? Is this good? Will this work in my deck?
Yep. The main PvE event this week is Marik. He's back for the third time, so we're not going to talk about him as much because we did talk about him every time he was here. So, you could go back to the past catalogs and check out those lengthy discussions about farming or whatever. But I haven't farmed him this time. Have you?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't. With all candor, I haven't really done much in the game recently. I auto-dueled him and his lackeys a couple times, and since we already have Marik and we already have the God card and the Lava Golems, there's kind of there is some new stuff that we're about to talk about, but so far I haven't yet really gotten into trying to make the most out of him here.
Did you see the gem rewards though?
I did see them. I'm not concerned that I'll miss them, though. I think I can pretty easily. Well, no. It's enough. I'm going to do it at some point. I just don't think I'm going to, fall so far behind that I won't be able to finish it in time.
The annoying thing is you can't auto-duel those. You have to go fight them at the gate, and it's 60 games. So,
yeah.
It's a slog, yeah. I haven't farmed him either. I was just playing, a Cyber Angels deck. Because Cyber Angels, for some reason, they get more points, dual assessment. So, yeah.
You get the ritual and the special summon points, and cool.
Yeah, so I get 4,000, 5,000. There's a bonus too, so yeah. I don't really care this time, but I am getting through those. It's only 125 gems. I mean, I got half of it, but I'm at 20. I'm not even at 30 games yet, and it seems will I get there? I don't know. I'll probably get there with all the free time I have, but it's tough though. Just not auto dueling. I think it's a little tough.
Yeah, I've always wanted them to allow us to auto duel
at the gate.
At the gate, I've put it in the last 3 surveys whenever they ask us, what we want.
Yeah.
But I don't. Maybe I guess the lesson to be taken from is that I should probably get started on that.
He's really easy to beat, though. I mean, he does annoying things where he uses Nightmare Wheel or Mask of the Accursed to lock down your guys and burn them. And then he does the thing where he tributes, when you have 3 monsters on the board, he tributes them for a sphere Ra. So those are the annoying things he does. But his monsters are really weak, so you could just beat him with some regular beatdown deck, probably.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's got 3 new cards this time, I believe, 2 or 3. Granadora is a 1900 reptile where you gain 1,000 life when he's summoned, but then when he is destroyed, you lose 2,000 life. 2,000 life is important because it helps trigger some duel skills, so it's something to think about with this card.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like it. 1900 is reptile. Good. Yep. Yeah, good, but not good enough to just play it for that reason. So you would have to turn that either the upside, maybe, or the downside, because it's when it's destroyed. So you can get the 1,000 life and then kind of remove it from play or whatever. And then... Oh, actually, I wonder if that works.
I think it has to get destroyed by an opponent, like effect or battle, so they have to do something. I don't think it's sent to the graveyard.
No, it's not. It's definitely destroyed, so you can avoid it that way. I was just thinking... Yeah, I don't think it works. I forget what we decided Sea Stealth Attack works, but it's not a special summon to bring it back, or is it?
Special summon to bring it back.
Yeah, when Sea Stealth removes something and then it comes back, is that considered a special summon to come back?
I think so. Or is that's a banish effect, right?
It's a banish, it's like the unbanishing.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm going to have to try that out, because that would be a life game engine.
So Granadora says when it's like special summoned, you gain 1,000?
Right, yeah, normal, flip summoned, or special summoned.
Oh, you're right.
I don't remember the answer. I don't think it does. I remember there was something weird with the ninjas matchup, but I don't remember what it was. So that's something I'm going to have to look into.
Oh, man. And this is a card you can get 3 of, so... this is probably... I mean, the other card isn't good, so I guess this is the card
you want. The other card, yeah, the other one's also an R. So, oh, wait, you have...
Yeah, there's humanoid slime.
That
it's
one's
just
not
it's just an 800 2,000. That's all it is.
Gotcha. Yeah. Right.
Yep. So these 2,000 defense monsters are coming. It would have been OP way back in the day, but now it's not. So it's a 2,000 defense monster.
There's also a new fusion monster, is the one I was talking about. That's just an R, but it's not relevant. So whatever.
Yep. It's a 2,200 attack fusion with humanoid slime and worm drake. That probably was never worth running, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where you're like, why is this in the game? And then you have to kind of see if there's some reason, like some possible way for it to be broken, and then after you've exhausted all your resources looking into that, you're just like, oh, it's just a bad card. Okay.
No, there was a fusion monster I did use for farming. It was like a bird. Like, I fused 2 birds. I forgot what it was, but it was like a Gift of the White Elephant deck I was using for farming. And you could do it with these guys, because they're both normal monsters.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's all I have to say about Marik. Get him and Arcana if you don't have them. And you can farm Arcana too, that's true, if you don't have anti-magic arrows. That's important.
Yeah, and you get Lava Golem if you haven't gotten that yet either, which is a very good card. It kind of, comes in and out of the meta, but it's very powerful. One of the strongest cards in the game. So definitely make sure you get that too if you haven't already gotten it.
Yep. So it's definitely an event for newer players who missed out than for us. We're just whatever, but, it's exciting for new players.
Yeah, if you already got the Winged Dragon of Ra, then you just get a UR.
One UR, yep.
Yeah, 1 UR Jewel is your replacement. So that's pretty, unexciting. But it is a lot of good stuff for newer players to catch up on.
Yep. And Crowler is also back. He's back at the gate permanently. He's left Duel Academy. He got fired. And you can get your Ancient Gear cards, Bile Falcon, and a bunch more cards, but there's no Pulse Mines, though. Can't farm Pulse Mines. Which is, of course, the one that you really wanted. Yeah. It's a Gear staple right now. Yeah, and it's just also just the most powerful of all the cards. All these other ones aren't that good.
Ancient Gears had a little bit of their time in the sun, but even a lot of the Ancient Gear cards aren't that good. You only play a couple of them, so this is kind of meh.
Yeah, I got 2 of my King of Games with Ancient Gears. I do want it to come back for those nostalgic purposes. I don't know if it will, but yep.
Yeah, it kind of, I like summoning giant dudes, cheating them out. So like Ancient Gear Golem just kind of feels fun and good. So I'm cool with the deck. I would be cool with it coming back.
Yep. New cards in the trader. We talked about Spell Strider and Dr. Frankenderp last time. There's another one, Token Thanksgiving. Basically you destroy all tokens and you gain like 800 life for each one, I think.
Yeah.
I think the only token that's been seen recently is the Oyster, and that's it. And that's kind of falling out of the meta, so yeah.
Yeah. So my take on it is if you're only doing it with your tokens, then it's not very good because it's a 2-card like combo to only gain a couple thousand life points. But if you're doing it to kill your opponent's cards, then you get it's removal and you get a bonus. So if some sort of tokens come into the meta, then it can be a really good card, maybe like a sideboard card because it's so specific, but it could be a really strong card. But right now in the meta, it's just pretty much completely useless.
It would be good if the Insect Weevil became like a really good deck, because they need those for protection, the insect tokens, right?
Yeah, that's true. I had some kind of hopes for that deck. It seems fun, and I have the 2 queens. Maybe that's what I'll try on the ladder next.
I got an Armored Bee.
And hopefully no one will be running this Token Thanksgiving just randomly to screw me.
It's funny how Weevil became like a less annoying with that new deck.
Yeah.
Alright, we're going to get to the heart of the matter right now, and that's new level up reward leaks. This comes with a bit of caution because it doesn't come from our normal data miners, who is normally Zoff and a bunch of other people like Zelos, and it comes from a Japanese website. They might have insider information, so we don't, this is not confirmed. But once I saw this yesterday, I was kind of re-energized about the game, and I was just excited to see what could be.
Yeah.
So I gotta open all these windows of these cards, unfortunately.
Okay, I was gonna say, I haven't seen these yet, so I will be giving kind of my first impressions.
Genuine visceral reaction right here.
Yes, that's right. Very, very visceral.
Okay, this first card is actually in the game already. It's Dark Magic Expanded. It's the card you can get from Arcana. Like, his skill gives you a random Dark Magician card, and this is one of the ones you can get. But now we're getting one for free. I mean, we might be getting one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a quick play. Apply these effects in sequence based on the number of Dark Magicians or Dark Magicians girls you have on the field and in the graveyard. If you have one dark spellcaster monster on the field gains 1,000 attack until the end of the turn. If you have 2, this turn your opponent cannot activate cards and effects in response to your spells and traps or effects. Your spells and traps cannot be destroyed by card effects. If you have 3, dark spellcaster monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of this turn. So it's kind of like a win more card. It's a combat trick just for one Dark Magician, but if you have more, it's kind of win more. It gives you like anti-magic arrows protection. It gives you it makes your guys invincible, basically.
Yeah, sometimes it's the one that you want off of Arcana. I think probably usually not, but I think it's good enough that it might go into your deck.
Yeah, I think the Dark Magician cards kind of just run like a lot of powerful spells, and it's okay just to have one, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially depending on how you build it. Some of them run the Destiny Draw. Then you really don't care if you only have one. So there's a couple ways that you can make it work.
So right now there's a little issue here. I wrote down Dark Magic Inheritance, but the website now says Dark Magic Circle. I'm going to go with Inheritance.
Okay.
Just because I already did that one. And it's too bad Wikipedia is such a slow website.
So we're just waiting for the card to come up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dark Magic Inheritance. Quick play spell. Banish 2 spells from your graveyard. Add 1 spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in its text. You can only use 1 per turn. So it's kind of like, you could tutor any of those powerful Dark Magician cards that you want, which could clear the field, could destroy a monster on the field, just by banishing 2 magic cards you've already used.
Yeah, so obviously it's a little bit limiting because it might be dead in your hand if you haven't yet played 2 and you don't have 2 in your graveyard, but when it's available to you, it's a super powerful card because those Dark Magician cards are so strong, and you can pick the one that's best for the scenario that you're in. I think that card will very likely see play in Dark Magician decks if any such decks end up existing.
The card I mentioned might be too good, so it might be the other card.
Maybe.
All right.
It's okay. I mean, we can have some good cards too.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'll allow it.
Kaiba's cards are more gimmicky, I think. Dragon Spirit of White. 8-star, 2500, 2000 dragon. So it looks like a Blue Eyes, but it's a bit weaker. This card is always treated as a Blue Eyes card. This card is treated as a normal monster when it's in the hand or in the graveyard. When it's normal summoned or special summoned, you can target 1 spell or trap your opponent controls and banish it. If your opponent controls a monster, you can quick effect tribute this card and special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand. So the stats are horrible for a 2 tribute. So you would want to use one of those new cards, those new dragon cards from that structure deck to special summon him. I think that's the best way to use this card.
Or Kaiba Man, right? Does Kaiba Man work? Does it say Blue Eyes specifically?
It counts as a Blue Eyes card.
Right.
A Kaiba Man, what does he do?
That's what I was wondering. Let's see.
Yeah, this website's not going to work for me. It just doesn't load.
I don't think it works. Because Kaiba Man reads, you contribute this card to special summon 1, quote, Blue Eyes White Dragon. So I think it's specifically just for that, obviously for the card called Blue Eyes White Dragon, not just for any Blue Eyes monster.
Yeah.
But anyway, the idea is the same. You basically have to cheat it out. But once you have cheated it out, it's actually seems really strong if you can kind of do that. The clearing the back row is nice. The quick play is also really nice because you can attack with it and then quick play out another Blue Eyes to go for that finishing blow, probably. So I don't know if there will be a deck with it. You would need to cheat it out, and you need that deck to be better than the other various OTKs and things that you have going on, which seems a little bit unlikely. But there's some potential here. I like the card. It's kind of gimmicky, but I like it.
Yep. This one is Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. It's the intermediate between Blue Eyes and Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. There's only 2 of them. So you fuse 2 Blue Eyes, and it's got the same stats as a regular Blue Eyes. But,
well, that's odd.
But it cannot be destroyed by battle. It can make 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase, so it has Wind Fury, basically, in Hearthstone terms. And at the end of the damage step, when this card attacks an opponent's monster, but that opponent's monster was not destroyed by battle, you can banish that card, that monster. So you've got 3,000 attack, and typically you are going to destroy what you're hitting, unless you get flipped over or something. But if there's a wall of D, for example, or it gets protected by a trap, it will banish that monster.
Yeah. Yeah, so It's okay. Same as the other one. Like, has a very kind of specific niche use, but it could see some play.
Yep. Alright, Joey's cards are pretty cool. Gearfried the Red Eyes Iron Knight. It's kind of like they're running out of ideas and they're just combining monsters. Once per turn, if either player equips an equip card to this card, you can destroy those equip cards. That's the key. You can destroy them. Mm-hmm. Then, if you do, you can destroy one trap or spell your opponent controls. Once per turn, you can send one equip card you control that is equipped to this card to the graveyard, and you can target one level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster in your graveyard, and you can special summon it. So, you could do like different equip tricks to destroy your opponent's monsters. And this is a warrior with Red Eyes synergy, so it kind of fits with the Red Eyes Slash build.
Yeah. I like it. I think there's some interesting synergies there and powerful effect.
Red Eyes Fang with Chain. This is a trap card. Target one Red Eyes monster you control and equip it. Equip this card to it. It can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. You can send this equip card to the graveyard, then target one effect monster on the field. Equip that target to the monster this card was equipped to, and if you do, while a monster is equipped to it with this effect, its attack and defense become equal to the original attack and defense of that equipped monster. It's kind of like Relinquished, basically, right? You're stealing their monster. It's weird. It's a weird card, though. It attacks twice, and then you could steal their monster.
Yeah. It's, I like stealing monsters. I loved Relinquish back when it was in the meta.
Yeah.
That was a good time for me. Probably not for too many other people. I remember a lot of people were hating on that meta, but I loved it.
Well, you're in for a surprise in these card leaks. Yep. When we get to Pegasus, you'll see.
Oh, baby.
All right, My Valentine. She's doubling up on Amazon's Pet Liger. It's a fusion between Amazon's Tiger and any Amazon's monster. 2,500, 2,400. Once per battle, if this card attacks during damage calculation, you make this card gain 500 attack during damage calculation only. If your Amazon's monster attacked an opponent's monster, after damage calculation, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, it loses 800 attack. Monsters your opponent controls cannot attack Amazoness monsters you control except for this one. So this is a little easier to get out because the baby tiger counts as a tiger. So you can just fuse the baby tiger with any Amazoness to become this card. And the question is if you want to put polymerization in an Amazoness deck. Like if it dilutes it. I think it does. That's the problem here.
Yeah. I think well, I don't know. I don't know what Amazoness decks look like because you don't really see them very often. They currently don't run polymerization.
Nope.
Of course, but I'm not sure if they would have room for it if they wanted to. So.
Yeah, they're all based on the trap card, Onslaught, Amazoness Onslaught, and that's kind of like a banish. It's kind of like Sea Stealth Attack, and then it banishes their monsters, so it's a little different mechanic here.
Yeah.
Amazoness Princess, 1,200, 900. This card's name becomes Amazoness Queen when it's on the field or graveyard. When it's normal summoned or special summoned, you can add one Amazoness spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can use this effect once per turn. When it declares an attack, you can send one card from your hand to the field, hand or field to the graveyard, and you can special summon any Amazoness monster from your deck into defense mode. This is really strong.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 2 tutor effects in one card. You got some like special summoning, so it's a ramp effect. There's just lots of good stuff there, and I don't know if there's any sort of Amazon Queen synergy cards.
Yeah, so that card is your monsters cannot be destroyed by battle.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, there's lots of good stuff there. That card seems pretty strong.
Yeah. All right, Taya Gardner. Let's see. Man, these links don't have every card. I'm gonna be short. Anyways,
Hecatrice.
yeah, Hecatrice is a 1500/1100 fairy. You can discard this card to the graveyard, add 1 Valhalla Hall of the Fallen from your deck to your hand. So this is kind of like that card that just released, Zerosius, I forget what it's called. The Herald of Heaven. But basically you tribute it for a card. And that card is Valhalla Hall of the Fallen. Continuous spell. Once per turn, you can special summon 1 fairy monster from your hand. You must control no monsters to activate and resolve this effect. Any fairy.
Yeah. There's some good ones that you would cheat out. Because there's, what's the name of the 2 tribute? The Joan, right?
Yeah,
that's
Joan.
a fairy.
There's a new Air Knight Parshaft, right? There's like a Neo one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there is. And then the original is probably not strong enough anymore, but I've always had a place in my heart for that guy. So it allows you to use special summon, but only if you don't have another monster on the field, right? That's what you just said?
Right.
So it's like less abusable. It's mostly, I guess your ideal situation is that you only use it once, right? Because you use it once, you cheat out something, and then you win the game. Yeah. But it also gives you a little bit of insurance where if your initial big swing turn doesn't work, then you have a backup secondary big swing turn where you could do the same thing again. So I kind of like it. It's another one of those cards where I'm not sure if it's going to be good enough to break into the scene, if it's going to be worth it. I tried doing some fairy stuff, obviously, when we got our most recent batch of all those fairies, and it just wasn't quite good enough. Even though it had a lot of potential. So it'll be interesting to see if this falls into that same category or if it's enough to push it over the edge or if it's its own separate type of fairy thing that's also just really good. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yugi's cards. Gamma the Electromagnetic Warrior. 802,000. Magnet Warrior, basically. If this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower Magnet Warrior monster from your hand, except for this one. Well, you're only getting 1 copy, so you're not going to summon another one. You can only use this effect of Gamma the Electromagnetic Warrior once per turn. During your opponent's turn, you contribute this card, special summon 1 level 4 Magnet Warrior from your deck. Quick effect. So it lets you tutor 2 cards, basically. 2 extra Magnet Warriors into the graveyard eventually.
You tutor one of them and you special summon the other one, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, solid card. Do we not have this one yet?
We have the Beta, the Electromagnetic Warrior.
Oh, okay. It works similarly.
Yeah, there's a quick effect going on.
Yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah. So the quick effect is very strong, and that's the one that Beta has as well, right?
I don't know what Beta does, frankly.
Okay, all right. Well, let's just pull it up real quick. So we have, I believe, just the one Beta, the Electromagnetic Warrior so far.
Yeah.
3-star, 1500. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Magnet Warrior from your deck to your hand, except for Beta, and you can only use it once per turn, and then during your opponent's turn, you contribute it to special summon 1 level 4 Magnet Warrior monster from your deck as a quick effect. So it's slightly different because you summon it instead of putting it. This one puts into the graveyard, right? Gamma does. Is that what we just said? The secondary effect.
Sorry, I'm failing here. I closed the
Either way, all right. Well, either way, they're both really solid for Magnet Warriors, which are already a pretty close deck. It's kind of like probably a tier 3 thing where it's not one of the very top decks, but it's definitely good enough to see competitive PvP play. Definitely good enough to get you into King of Games if you're a solid player and you know the deck well. So I'm interested to see. This one I think will almost certainly see play if it comes into the game, and I'm interested to see how that changes up the PvP rankings, if it does at all.
Yeah, they definitely have room for it. That's what their decks can afford, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Gold Sarcophagus. A magic card. Banish one card from your deck face up. During your second standby phase, after this activation, you can add that card to your hand. So it's kind of like a Destiny draw, but everyone knows what the card is. You have to wait 2 turns, but it seems like it could work for different decks where you're trying to look for that one card.
Yeah, I've seen people use this, I guess maybe in the TCGs, since the physical one, since I guess it's not in this game yet. But I've seen this before. I think the place where I saw it was in Exodia decks, of course, right? You can
It makes sense.
especially the head, since that's kind of the hardest one to get, since it's an effect monster, and the other ones are pretty easy to tutor out. And then it's kind of like, it just gives your opponent a 2-turn, or I guess 3-turn clock. Like, all right, you have this long to end the game, because at that point I will almost certainly win.
Yep. I think it was used in the anime when they finally, like, they fought. It's like the last duel in the first series. And the card is just the box that Yugi has, where he stored the Millennium Pod, or his cards are in the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways. DNA Surgery. I think we're getting a second copy of this, but basically it changes all the type into one type. All face-up monsters become one type. And there's like different insect shenanigans you can do. That's why it's with Weevil, I guess.
Yeah, there's some insect shenanigans. There's some, we saw some dragon shenanigans. I think I sent you some in our little like chat thread.
Yeah.
So there's some good stuff there. It's not like a meta breaking card, but it's definitely a powerful one that could see some play.
Verdant Sanctuary, continuous spell. When a face-up insect, a monster is destroyed and sent to graveyard, its controller can add 1 insect with the same level as that destroyed monster from their deck to the hand. So it basically helps you refill on insects.
Yeah, great card advantage, I guess. If you have ways to cheat out the insects, then that's good. It's got some tutor effect type stuff. I think there's some value there.
Yeah. Rex Raptor, Hyper Hammerhead, 1500-1200 dinosaur. At the end of the damage step, if an opponent's monster that battled this card is not destroyed, you can return that monster. No, it's not. You can. You definitely have to. You return that monster to the opponent's hand. So it's like a bounce effect, but it's less good than a flip effect, I think, right? Like the Gale Lizard's better, I think.
Yeah, I guess the reason why this would be better is because you're running the dino skill, and so you can beat with it as well. If there's an open field, or it's close enough that it can probably attack through some stuff even without you just having a wide open board to attack into. So I kind of agree with your assessment that it doesn't fit the current version of dinos. It's not as good as the dinos we have now, but it seems like a decent card that might, get some play over time, or I don't know. It might find a home.
Yeah. And it can hit into the defense monster, like a bigger defense monster, and bounce that, I guess. But then they get to use it twice, so I don't know if that's great. Like, you don't want to use 2 Sylvan mushrooms. Again.
Yeah. I'm thinking like maybe it'd be really good for if we get into like a fusion or ritual meta, because those cards cost a lot to get out. And then when you bounce them, forget exactly what happens, but they like die.
Yeah.
It's not a normal bounce.
Petite Ranodon. It's a 500-500 dinosaur. If this card is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 level 4 or higher dinosaur monster from your deck, but it can't attack. So there has to be a surprise where this guy is destroyed by an effect, because you won't do it willingly.
Yeah.
To effect destroy a 500-500, but it can cheat out a big guy. I didn't realize it was level 4 or higher, so there's possibility.
Yeah, there is. I think, though, like you said, there are not a lot of Um, there's not a lot of like AoE destroy all monsters type stuff in this game. In the TCG, there was a lot of Reigekis and I forget what the other one's called, Dark Hole or something. Yeah. And so there was a lot of times when you could kind of hide something like this behind a big threat. And then they would have to clear the big threat, so they would clear your whole board to do so, and then you have a new big threat. That doesn't really work in this game because we don't have those AoEs as much, so people aren't likely going to kind of have to clear it as splash damage. So I don't think this, and then of course this card wouldn't really work in a TCG because it's too low power level. So even if they do, like even if everything works as you planned, everyone's kind of just like, oh, okay, whatever. So this card is a little bit underwhelming.
You just have to trick them that you're playing Sylvan, so then they effect remove the face down, and then you get it out.
There you go. Roasted.
Alright, I want your opinion on this card. I think it's really bad, but you're more of a water player than me. So we'll see.
Let's see.
Rage of the Deep Sea. 5-star 0/0 fish. This card gains 500 in attack and defense for each fish, sea serpent, or aqua in your graveyard.
It's interesting.
You get it for free with the AL Legendary Ocean.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Legendary Ocean to cheat it out. I think the only deck that seems like it would work with is the 30-card Grass is Greener version of the Citadel Whale, Sea Stealth deck.
Yeah.
Because that version runs the Whale and the ALOs, and you're filling your graveyard, and it has the 5-star or higher monsters to activate the Sea Stealth, like several of them. The other stuff doesn't seem to kind of just work on its own. You have to be in a very specific deck, and I think that's the deck for it to be in.
And you can't play any of those machines, though. Don't they run those 5-star machines? Or do they not?
Yes, they do. Yeah. They tend
to
count, the BES or whatever. Yeah, I think this... I'm not sure how much you just need a beater, because that's basically all this is. So I'm not even sure if it would see play in that deck, but if it were to see play, it would be in that deck.
Yep.
You'd want to have at least 5 things in the graveyard, right, for it to work. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
4 maybe? 4 could work a little.
4 is like acceptable, and then 5's like
you're good.
Decent. Yeah. So it's like, it's a fringe card. I don't think it's like really bad. I think it's just very specific where it might see play. And even in that place where it might see play, I'm not convinced that it would. So
okay.
I guess that might be pretty bad.
This one's actually really cool. Rage of Kurioshin. Quick play spell. If Umi is on the field, target monsters your opponent controls up to the number of water monsters you have that are originally level 5 or higher. Destroy them, and if you do, the zones they were in cannot be used until the end of the next turn. Wow. You can only activate 1 per turn. This is a really cool card.
Yeah, that's broken. And it doesn't even... I was totally expecting you to end that sentence by saying you can't attack this turn or something like that. But no, you just win the game.
Would this automatically go into the whale deck?
I think it would go into that version that runs the ALO and focuses on having the level 5 or higher guys for sure. Like,
you don't even need the whale. You don't even need the whale for this card.
No, you don't. This card is just OP. I think since it targets you, if they counter like for any one, if they protect for any one of the things, then they counter the whole card, I think. But even still, this is a card that you need to have the counter to, or else you just lose the game, right? And that ALO deck is like solid. It's probably another kind of tier 3 type deck, but this might be enough to push it over the top. If this card just has me very excited, I guess. It's just crazy. Except that I don't have the cards for that ALO version, so oh well.
Yeah. That was a fun card. Marik's cards. Holding Arms. 500, 1200 Fiend. If this card is normal summoned or special summoned, target one face-up monster your opponent controls. While this card is on the field, that monster cannot attack. Also, its effects are negated. When that monster is on the field, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. So it's kind of like a stall card where it just holds the monster on the board. It could be useful for like Lava Golem or Ojama Go, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, stall cards. It's nice to kind of lock something in place.
This one's a little better, I like. Holding Legs, 800, 600 Fiend. When this card is summoned, return all set spells and traps on the field to the hand. You can banish this card from the graveyard, target one set spell or trap your opponent controls. It cannot be activated until the end of your opponent's next turn. So it's like Hey Trunade and Fire Formation Gyaku for one turn.
Yeah, I like it.
It's just summoned, yeah.
Seems like a pretty powerful card. What were the stats, the attack and defense again?
800, 600.
Okay, yeah, so I guess that's the downside.
It's not nothing, yeah. It's not nothing, yeah.
Right. Cool. I'm just trying to go quickly through the rest of them because I noticed we're getting a bit long and we're only like halfway through the characters.
Alright. Vengeful Bog Spirit. Continuous spell. Monsters cannot attack the turn they are summoned.
It's a nice little stall card. There's a lot of, like, you can kind of do like a bit of a lockdown with this, right?
Yep.
I could see a lot of kind of, this seems like a very powerful card for control-based stall deck things.
Yep. This one's also really good. Bakura got the best cards. Doom Caliber Knight. 4-star, 1900, 1800 Fiend. Cannot be special summoned. During either player's turn, if a monster effect is activated, you contribute this card and negate the activation and destroy that monster. So it's built in Ultimate Providence / Divine Wrath.
Yeah. Solid card. Good stats and good effect. Will almost certainly see play.
Bandit Keith, Proton Blast. Continuous Trap. Once per turn, if an activated card effect tosses coins, immediately after it resolves, apply the effects based on the number of heads. If you have 1, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. If you have 2, destroy one card your opponent controls. If you have 3, look at your opponent's hand and discard one card from your hand. When an effect activated that tosses a coin 2 or more times, you can banish this card and treat all results as heads.
Woo.
This is your Barrel Dragon right here.
Yeah. The 1 coin effect you don't really care too much about that. The 2 and the 3 are solid. So this kind of wants you to be flipping 3 coins at a time. So Barrel Dragon and Twin Barrel Dragon. Well, no, just the regular Barrel Dragon is the one that you really want.
The Toon one too, right?
Yes, yeah, the Toon one too.
Blowback Dragon, we've seen this card before. 6-star, 2300, 1200. You toss a coin 3 times. If it's 2, you can target 1 and destroy it. Unfortunately, it's kind of like power creep by things that just destroy things now. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to use this with those, like the Proton Blast, that get the advantage from flipping coins.
Yep. Alright, Ishizu, Kelbeck, 1500, 1800 Fairy. A monster that attacks this card returns to the hand. Damage calculation is applied normally. So it's like a bounce card. That's all we gotta say about this card, I think.
Yeah, it's slightly meh, but...
Yeah, very meh.
Oh.
Gravekeeper's Visionary, 8-star, 2000, 1800. You contribute this card by tributing 1 Gravekeeper. This card gains 200 attack for each Gravekeeper in your graveyard. If this face-up card would be destroyed, you can discard 1 Gravekeeper instead. So we've seen this card in level 40 Ishizu, I believe, and it just keeps getting stronger. It could be a thing to get Gravekeepers back into the game. It's got built-in protection. Gets stronger. Yeah,
it's good. It's built-in protection and cheating effects because you can use it as ramp or as reanimation for whatever you discarded. So lots of good effects there.
Odeon is getting a second Magic Planter. We didn't really see his card. It's send 1 face-up trap, continuous trap you control to the graveyard. Draw 2 cards. Kind of fits in with the trap monster theme.
Mm-hmm. I like getting a second one though. Will probably make the first one better because it's the type of card that obviously if you want to play it, you need to have a lot of targets for it in your deck, and the targets for it are all slightly underpowered right now. So it's not worth it when you only have one card to make it kind of work. Maybe you have a couple other, but for the most part, you're just not getting a lot of value out of it. So adding more ways to make it worth it kind of adds another layer of the value to it. So I'm not sure if it's even then going to be good enough to see play, but it is better now. It will be better with the second one.
This is a new card, Statue of Anguish Pattern, Continuous Trap. You get an effect monster with 0 attack and 2500 defense. It can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects if you control another trap monster. If it's special summoned to the monster zone, you can target one card on the field and destroy it. So it's just like a little wall, a 2500 defense wall trap monster. Basically,
yeah,
that's what it is.
Seems pretty solid.
Toon Briefcase. We're in Pegasus now. Trap card. When your opponent summons a monster when you control a toon, you can shuffle that monster into the deck. So it's hard removal when you have a toon.
Yeah. We haven't seen toons for a little bit, but I've faced one in the KC Cup, and that guy will be happy to see this card.
Alright, here we go. Millennium Eyes Restrict. A fusion between Relinquished and any effect monster. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can quick effect. Target one effect monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard, and you can equip it to this card. This card gains the attack and defense of that monster. Monsters equipped cannot attack, and their effects on the field are negated. So it's basically a Relinquish just for countering effects.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's not as good as the original, right?
Yeah, not as good as the original was, like, at the time the original came out. Because obviously the original now doesn't see any play. I could see you, like, you summon the original, and then you eat something, and then you use it as your fuel, and then you can eat something else. So it's getting back a lot of that card disadvantage from the various rituals and fusions you have to do. It's interesting. I don't know if it's good enough to see play, but I'll try it out.
Mokuba, 6-star Genesis Dragon, 2200, 1800 defense dragon. Once per turn, you can send a dragon from your hand to the graveyard to add one dragon from your graveyard to your hand. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can return all dragons from your graveyard to your deck. It kind of goes against the synergy with the graveyards, though. Dragon synergy in the graveyard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting card. It's a powerful effect, so one that will likely have some way to be used or abused. So it doesn't have like an obvious home right now, but it might have some place to see play.
King Dragon is a fusion, 2400 attack, 1100 defense. Your opponent cannot select any dragon-type monsters as the targets of spells, traps, and monster effects. Once per turn, you can special summon one dragon from your hand. The problem with this card is it involves two cards that aren't really seen play to be the fusion material, but it's pretty strong with its effects and abilities.
Yeah. If you get it out, the effects are super strong. So it's just a matter of if you can consistently and quickly get it out, because once you do, you most likely win.
Yep. You just have to add Lord of D and Divine Dragon Ragnarok in your deck, which are both not good.
Yeah, we haven't seen Lord of D since very early on.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what that other one is, so.
It's just a 1500 normal.
Oh. Is this one of those fusions that allows you to sub, or that restricts you and does not allow you to?
You could use a fusion material.
Yeah. So cool.
Castle Gate 0, 2400, 6 stars. This card cannot be destroyed by battle. Once per turn, when this card's in attack mode, you contribute one level 5 or lower monster to inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. So it's like a better version of Catapult Turtle.
Yeah. Seems decent, I guess. I don't think it'll see much play.
Golem Sentry we already have, I believe. 800, 1800. Once per turn, you can change this card to face down defense. When it's flip summoned, you can return one monster your opponent controls to their hand. I think we already have this.
I don't remember if we do or not. It's got lockdown potential, but it's very slow in our current meta. Yeah. So maybe more for like a farming type thing or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Arcana, we already have Skilled Dark Magician. It's a 1900 attack spellcaster. When you have the 3 counters on it, you can special summon a Dark Magician from your hand, deck, or graveyard. This card's already in the Dark Magician deck. Having 2 is pretty good.
Yeah.
Black Illusion.
Yeah. Go on.
I don't have the card.
Oh, okay.
Alright, here we go. Trap card. Until the end of this turn, all dark spellcasters with 2000 attack or more cannot be destroyed by battle, but their effects are negated, and they're not affected by effects. So, it's just protection.
Cool.
For Dark Magicians.
Yeah, seems nice to have some protection, I guess.
Bones cards are both repeats, so you're getting a second copy of Zombie World and another copy of King of the Skull's Servants.
And neither of these cards really see play, so I don't know if having second copies will help us too much. But once you get those second copies, there's always more potential because you can finally build decks around stuff. So maybe.
My sights are kind of screwing me over right now, so I don't know exactly what this card does. Elemental Hero Rampart Blaster. You fuse Burstinatrix with Clayman. And when it gets to attack when it's in defense mode. That's its ability. But then it's only half the attack if you're doing it that way.
Okay. That's a very interesting card.
It has 2,000, 2,500. Yep.
Yeah. Huh.
Oh, only when your opponent controls no monsters.
While this card is in face-up defense position, this card can attack your opponent's life points directly. In that case, then you deal half your attack. Huh. It's a really interesting card.
Wrath of Neos is a magic card. Select one face-up elemental hero Neos you control. Return it to your deck and destroy all cards on the field. So it's one of those conditional cards where it destroys everything, but you have to have a card that's not really worth running on the field.
Mm-hmm. I like your idea of the Diamond Dude deck.
Yeah, it never happened, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was a really cool looking deck, though. So.
D-Shield. Trap card. When an attack position Destiny Hero monster you control is targeted for an attack, target it and change it to defense. It can't be destroyed by battle. The Mask Hero decks are kind of too refined for a card like this, I think. But it kind of it helps you keep a guy on the board, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's good enough for the Masked Hero.
Destiny Hero Disc Commander 300, 300. When this card is special summoned from the graveyard, draw 2 cards.
That's a lot of card advantage there. I don't know if there's a way to continuously resummon him or something like that. That seems like the type of thing that could break the game somehow.
Apparently it's banned in the TCG.
Yeah, because I'm sure they found some way to break the game by continuously resummoning him.
It's gonna be like Bamboo all over again. I think some kind of deck like that.
Yeah, something.
Rainbow Bridge. Magic card. Add 1 crystal spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So it tutors out any of those crystal cards.
Okay. They're not very good cards, though, so whatever.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Crystal Bond. Add 1 crystal beast monster from your deck to your hand, and place another crystal beast monster with a different name from your deck into one of your spells and trap zones. So it tutors 2 cards, I think.
Yeah, it would have been great if when we were trying to summon the dragon, this would have been perfect for that.
Yeah.
But as we learned from our attempts to summon the dragon, it's not very good though. So I'm not super impressed. It's a very good card if the Crystal Beasts are worth playing, and right now they're not. So
Yep. Enchanting Fitting Room we already have, so I won't explain it. Oja Match is a new card though. It's an anime card. Quick play spell. Send one Ojama from your hand or face up from your field to the graveyard. Add to your hand one Ojama with a different name and one armed dragon from your deck or graveyard. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon one of those monsters. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 3 of your banished Ojamas, and shuffle them into the deck and draw 1 card. There's a lot going on here.
yeah, that's a lot of effects. It's a classic Yu-Gi-Oh card. Okay, like
You have to run them in the same deck. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
it's a little weird. The armed dragon's not particularly good, so I don't know. This is a very, very high flavor, I guess, card. I'm not sure. It has some powerful effects, but it's just like really weird and specific setup that you need to get to make it like reach full value.
Yep. All right, Alexis. I think this is one of the best cards in GX. I mean, in this set here.
Yeah.
Blizzard Princess, 2800, 2100, 8-star spellcaster. You can tribute this card in... Wait. You can tribute summon this card in attack mode by tributing 1 spellcaster. After this card was normal summoned, your opponent cannot activate spells and traps for the rest of the turn. So it's a 1 tribute 2800, and then you get an anti-magic arrows effect.
Yeah, that seems really strong.
White Knight Dragon. It's got the same stats as Blue Eyes, but it's a water. During either player's turn, when a spell or trap that targets this card is activated, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. When another face-up monster you control is targeted for an attack, you can send 1 spell or trap you control to the graveyard and change the attack target to this card.
Cool. Stats aren't good enough, but are solid, so... the effect to protect itself and mess with your opponent's attacks and stuff, those are powerful effects, so there's some potential. I would lean towards it's probably not going to see play, but it's a powerful card, so it might.
Crowler's cards, Trap card, Damage Condenser. When you take battle damage, discard 1 card, special summon 1 monster from your deck with attack less than or equal to the battle damage you took and face-up attack. So you have to take a big hit and then special summon anything from your deck with less attack or equal.
Yeah, I like it. We have cards like the Enchanted Javelin or whatever that make it so it's not so bad. I could see this definitely having some sort of potential.
Ancient Gear Fortress, continuous spell. During the turn they were normal or special summoned, your opponent cannot target Ancient Gear monsters you control with card effects, and they can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of Ancient Gear cards and effects. If this card is destroyed, you can special summon 1 Ancient Gear monster from your hand or graveyard.
Wow.
Yeah.
That card's really solid. I think one of the main reasons why Ancient Gears went away is that there's a lot of econ play, and, this protects against that. So this might be good enough to bring the archetype back.
Yep. The problem is just being the one of in your deck, which I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, I think it's like before. I think the better version of Ancient Gears will be something that uses Ancient Gears but is not like 100% devoted to the archetype. Is just kind of like a good aggro control deck that has like an Ancient Gears sub theme.
Yep. And finally, Bastion, Carboneddin. We've seen this card before in leaks. It gains attack when it battles a fire monster, but the main ability is when you banish it from the graveyard, you can special summon from your hand or deck 1 level 7 or lower dragon normal monster in defense mode.
Nice.
Yep.
It's a pretty powerful effect. We have lots of ways to for cheating out big, beefy monsters like that, so I'm not sure if this is better than the other versions, other ways to do it, but it's a solid effect.
Yep. And finally, Mathematician. 3-star 1500 500 spellcaster. When this card is normal summoned, you can send one level 4 or lower monster from your deck to the graveyard. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can draw a card.
Cool. Yeah, there's lots of card draw, graveyard shenanigans. Nice to replace itself. Seems like a decent card.
Cool. Alright, quickly. April PvP rank will count for the WCS 2018 qualifiers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Legend and King of Games at 15.
Right. You've got some a couple days left, a little bit more than a week at this point, so definitely get to at least Legend to give yourself that nice kind of starting bonus. It's just like the KC Cup where you'll get the rewards for the prior levels, so there's no reason not to do it.
Yep. In May, ranked rewards quickly. Dodger Dragon is a 1900 dragon that counters counter traps. That's why.
Cool.
That's what it is. Yep.
It'll eat those fairy decks that aren't good enough to exist anyway.
Yep. Big Burn. Whenever they use like a monster effect in the graveyard, you banish all monsters in both graveyards.
Ah. And what is Big Burn? Is it a continuous trap or?
I think it's just a normal trap.
Okay. Interesting. So it just happens the one time they do it. Yeah. Yep. Seems like you put in here in these notes that Disappear has seen some play in various sideboards, and this is probably a better version obviously in some decks. Some decks you'd rather keep your graveyard intact, but seems like a solid card. Might see some play.
And Cold Feet is a card that we just don't have time to even talk about. It just has no benefit to you at all.
All right. F that card.
All right. So we're done. Went a little long today, but went through all of the possible leaks we may be getting soon TM.
Yes, that is right. So looking forward to it, and we'll just go into the little wrap-up.
Yep. You can listen to this podcast and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Overcast, and YouTube. Listen to the podcast and more on our website, theduelassessment.wordpress.com. Help support our efforts at Patreon, patreon.com/duel_assessment. We may be offering spots to do ads in the future, so that's something to keep in mind. Email us at duelassessment@gmail.com, or you find us on Twitter, duel_assessment, me, Green Ranger, HS DeckTech at HS DeckTech.
Yep, we love to chat with you guys, love to get feedback, love to talk about the state of the game in between episodes, and talk about things that you would like for us to talk about in future episodes. So definitely reach out.
Yep. All right, we're done here.
Yep. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. We'll see you next time.
See ya.